Hello, everyone. Happy New Year. Thank you for coming back to the channel. Today, we're going to talk about money and crypto, the fundamentals of value overall. We're going to begin with the most basic question of all, what is money? And we'll work our way up to uh, Bitcoin and digital commodities. In future videos, I'll do a presentation on proof of work and proof of stake and comparing and contrasting their similarities and their consensus mechanisms for blockchains. I'll probably do another presentation on the differences and advantages and disadvantages between UTXO based transaction systems and account based systems. But for right now, without any further ado, thank you for coming back to the channel. I'm looking forward to a very jam-packed year on YouTube. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen and I hope you enjoy. Okay. And here we are. Money and crypto, fundamentals of value. So, what is money? In short, money can be anything that can serve as a store of value, which means people can save it and use it later, smoothing their purchases over time. It could be a unit of account, that is to provide a common base for prices, such as a quote, or a medium of exchange, something that people can use to buy and sell from one another. To put it a different way, money is something that holds its value over time. It can be easily translated into prices and is widely accepted. Many different things have been used as money over the years, among them cowrie shells, barley, peppercorns, gold, and silver. And the source is from actually the International Monetary Fund. Um, so, yeah. So, why does money have value? Uh, Moving on to Bitcoin here in terms of money. Bitcoin has value for the same reasons any other money does. We value goods as money if they exhibit specific tangible properties. The six characteristics of sound money are durability, portability, divisibility, fungibility, scarcity, and acceptability. How credibly a good displays these six characteristics will determine if it can fulfill the role of money. Clearly, a good doesn't become a currency out of a collective hallucination. Instead, people have continually adopted new monies based on how well they can function as such. This is from New York Dig. Why is Bitcoin valuable? March 2023 issue. Probably no more relevant time in recent years to talk about the value of Bitcoin and the value of money and how we view money than now. Briefly going over the six characteristics of money, we look at durability, for instance. Produce makes for poor money because it spoils. Gold, on the other hand, doesn't rust or otherwise decay. Portability, cash is easy to carry, but gold can be physically taxing to transport in large amounts. It's hard to trade when you have to hire an army just to pay your bills, right? Divisibility, US dollars can be broken down into cents for small purchases. Fungibility, a dollar is a dollar, but one barrel of apples could vary significantly in quality and quantity from another barrel. If a currency isn't fungible, every transaction requires an audit. Scarcity, currencies aren't exempt from the law of supply and demand. The easier it is to find or create a good, the less value it has. Money needs to have a limited supply in order to ensure that its purchasing power will remain stable over time. And finally, acceptability, which is one area that, for example, Bitcoin is arguably not too competent in as of yet. Acceptability is if a money fulfills the first five criteria, the more likely it is that people will use it. The more people that adopt the currency, the easier it will be to spend. Acceptability of a money can be thought of it can be thought of as money's network effect. Now, we'll get into more in that later. It's going to be like 20 pages of PowerPoint slides. So, how Bitcoin stacks up. So, analyzing Bitcoin through the lens of the 6 characteristics we went over just now of sound money shows that is quite possibly the best currency ever created. Durability, Bitcoin cannot be destroyed so long as the blockchain is maintained on even a single computer. Bitcoin exists. Since the inception of Bitcoin, the network's uptime has been remarkably high, 99.99%, and it has gone more than 3,200 days without an outage. For a point of comparison, the Federal Reserve's money transfer system went offline for several hours in February 2021. Portability, I think we all know this one, right? Internet connection, final settlement within an hour. You can carry your Bitcoin wherever you have your wallet and private keys stored. Divisibility, you can divide Bitcoin down into 100 million Satoshis. Fungibility, all Bitcoins are the same. No coin is more valuable than the next one. Unlike with gold or paper currency, counterfeiting with Bitcoin is impossible. Scarcity, we all know this one, right? Only 21 million Bitcoins. Anybody can check the protocol's code, which is also open source, to confirm that limit. A vast majority of nodes, which are the enforcers of Bitcoin's rules, would have to act against their own economic self-interest for the limit to be altered. And acceptability, here we go. While the estimates for the number of Bitcoin holders vary, some peg adoption as high as 114 million people. This number grows each day as knowledge of the protocol spreads and Bitcoin becomes easier to buy, spend, and store. Bitcoin combines the hardness of gold with the portability and fungibility of fiat and comes built for the digital age. Its supply is strictly regulated by the code and enforced by those who use it. Bitcoin can be sent anywhere in the world in seconds without incurring the prohibitive costs so often charged in the traditional financial system. Okay, so bear with me here. So Bitcoin is often regarded as a digital commodity versus how most cryptocurrencies from a regulatory standpoint may be considered securities, allegedly. So what do we mean by commodities? What does that mean? It feels like a fancy word, kind of mystic or hard to define. So commodities as a measure of value is simply put a stable unit of account, a durable store of value, and a convenient medium of exchange, at least in the sense of precious metals. Commodities can take on a lot of different manifestations, such as coffee, sugarcane, gold, silver, iron. But for example, precious metals, since we are talking about Bitcoin here and how it is a digital commodity, precious metals, for example, gold would be the most, how would you say, the closest parallel you can draw to Bitcoin when you refer to it as a digital commodity or a digital gold. So precious metals seem to serve all three needs: a stable unit of account, a durable store of value, and a convenient medium of exchange. They are hard to obtain. There's a finite supply of precious metals in the world. They stand up to time well. They are easily divisible into standardized coins and do not lose value when made into smaller units. In short, precious metals, with their durability, limited supply, high replacement costs, and portability, made them more attractive as money than other goods when we're looking at the entire spectrum of human history, right? Until relatively recently, gold and silver were the main currency people used. Gold and silver are heavy, though, and over time, instead of carrying the actual metal around and exchanging it for goods, people found it more convenient to deposit precious metals at banks and buy and sell using a note that claimed ownership of that gold or silver deposits. Anyone who wanted to could go to the bank and get the precious metal that backs the note. So you can essentially a dollar bill, if you look at it, again, back to basics, Federal Reserve note, its original intention was to have a portable certificate of value that you can carry with you and exchange with other certificates of value or for goods. And then you could go to a bank where they had the physical gold, and you can go back and give them back the paper, the bill, and get your ounce or whatever the visible amount of gold that they had in store, get that back. Eventually, the paper claim on the precious metals were actually delinked from the metals. When that link was broken, fiat money was born. Fiat money is materially worthless, but has value simply because a nation collectively agrees to ascribe a value to it. In short, money works because people believe that it will. That's really important to note. As the means of exchange evolved, so did its source, from individuals in barter to some sort of collective acceptance when money was barley or shells, to governments in more recent times. This again is the exact same source, the International Monetary Fund, from September 2012. So I told you commodities can take on a wide manifestations of goods. A commodity is a basic good used in commerce that is interchangeable with other goods of the same type. Commodities are most often used as inputs in the production of other goods or services. A commodity thus usually refers to a raw material used to manufacture finished goods. A product, on the other hand, is the finished goods sold to consumers. So a few of these things we've already talked about. It's important to note here that commodities limit monetary inflation when they are pegged or tied together to that bill and fiat currency. Well, the money, the currency, right? It wouldn't be fiat if it was tied. And it helps to ensure that currencies are secure and safe to use. Many of these things we've already talked about. Paper money is representative. And after countries abandoned the gold standard in an effort to curb concerns about gold supplies, many global currencies are now classified as fiat, as we mentioned before. Fiat currency is issued by government and not backed by any commodity, but rather by the faith that individuals and governments have that others will accept that currency. So, why would an investor look to invest into a commodity or a digital commodity such as Bitcoin? It provides three key benefits: inflation protection, diversification, and return potential. Because commodities are real assets, they tend to react to changing economic fundamentals in different ways than stocks and bonds, which are financial assets. For example, commodities are one of the very few asset classes that tend to benefit from rising inflation. As demand for goods and services increases, the price of those goods and services usually rises as well, as do the prices of those commodities used to produce those goods and services. Because commodity prices usually rise when inflation is actually accelerating, investing in commodities may provide portfolios with a hedge against inflation. In contrast, stocks and bonds tend to perform better when the rate of inflation is stable or slowing. Faster inflation lowers the value of future cash flows paid by stocks and bonds because that future cash will be able to buy fewer goods and services than they would today. One can argue that Bitcoin's value is similar to that of precious metals. Both are limited in quantity and have select use cases. Precious metals, like gold, are used in industrial applications, while Bitcoin's underlying technology, the blockchain has some applications across the financial services industries. You can look on the right. commodity index to get an idea what would be included, which sectors of commodities, and how much of those sectors make up the entire 100% whole. So, moving away from commodities and definitions of that sort, how do blockchains work, right? Bitcoin uses the blockchain, and that emerged in 2009 as a distributed, decentralized digital ledger underpinning Bitcoin and recording transactions in an immutable way, meaning it cannot be altered. It works like this blockchain. An individual or a machine registers as a member of a blockchain, which can be public, like Bitcoin, or private, like a street of householders or a group of traders. The individual or machine can then transact with other members registered to the blockchain. Nobody can change the ledger. It's immutable, shared with all members at all times. And if the blockchain is public, anyone can become a member. Verified transactions are then added to other transactions to create a new block of data that is added to the existing chain of blocks on the ledger. This creates a permanent data entry. No one can change the ledger again. That's repeated. So this is from the S&P Global Blockchain for Commodities Trading Opportunities in a Digital Age. Continuing on from them, digital technologies like blockchain and the cryptocurrency Bitcoin are creating new options for streamlining and simplifying paper processes and for disrupting long-established business models. That shift, they believe at S&P Global, is about to hit the commodity trading market, which has traditionally relied on vast paper trails to execute, authenticate, and process each transaction. But blockchain also creates opportunities for smaller players as well by potentially reducing the cost of trading, making it cheaper to enter a market. Increased transparency in trade workflows could make fraud much easier to detect, but a secure blockchain system with trusted counterparties also threatens the role of banks as trusted intermediaries. So when it comes to proof of work mining, which will be a separate discussion in the future, in electricity, the role of utilities and grid operators is threatened by the shift to decentralization as more and more distributed energy sources, such as rooftop, photovoltaic, and battery storage and electric vehicles come into play. Blockchain can support this decentralization by enabling peer-to-peer trading and microgrid communities between prosumers, retail consumers who also produce small quantities of power. It is the blockchain's ability to process frequent microtransactions that helps to make such trading technically possible. Cutting post-trade processing costs is one of the main potential uses of blockchain in commodity trading, with savings of up to 40% across operations, accounting, settlement, and information technology, according to blockchain developers. So here we have from Investopedia, the traits of money again, before we move on. We have including the 5 or 6 criteria for money. We also have if that money is sovereign, meaning government issued, decentralized, and if it's smart and programmable. And that's pretty much it. So moving on here, now going back to fiat currencies. So if commodities like gold could be so influential and help to maintain the balance and accountability for making sure the money that you use to transact every day maintains its value over time, if that's such a good storage of value, or if Bitcoin is such a good storage of value for that matter, why is it that we continue to use fiat currencies overall? So, on the one hand, the authorities, i.e., the governments, will always be tempted to issue money because they can buy more things with it, hire more people, pay more wages, and increase their popularity. And also sell debt and create debt. On the other hand, printing too much money starts to push up prices. If people start expecting that prices will continue to rise, they may increase their own prices even faster. Um, Particularly businesses with their goods and services. Unless the government acts to rein in expectations, trust in money will be eroded, and it may eventually become worthless. This is what happens during hyperinflation. To remove this temptation to print money willy-nilly, most countries today have delegated the task of deciding how much money to print to independent central banks, which are charged with making the call based on their assessment of the economy's needs and do not transfer funds to the government to finance its spending. The term printing money is something of a misnomer in of itself. Most money today is in the form of bank deposits rather than paper currency. So you can almost think as fiat currencies in today's modern world as a form of government-backed digital currency. The only difference is that it is held on private ledgers between banks. It is not public for everybody to view, and it definitely doesn't have a capped limit or scarcity, nor is it backed by anything. So we all know over time, history repeats itself, and that belief can fade in fiat currencies. Countries that have been down the path of hyperinflation experienced firsthand how the value of money essentially depends on people believing in it, and that governments will do the right thing and be responsible with the power that they've been giving, or, independent central banks, right? In the US, that would be the notorious Federal Reserve right now. In the 1980s, people in some Latin American countries, for example, such as Argentina and Brazil, gradually lost confidence in their currencies because inflation was eroding its value so rapidly. They started using a more stable one, the US dollar, back then, as the de facto currency. This phenomenon is called unofficial dollarization. The government loses its monopoly on issuing money, and dollarization can be very difficult to reverse. Many people argue, well, I think it's well known that El Salvador, one of the reasons they adopted Bitcoin as a legal tender in their country is due to the fact that they had no currency of their own anymore, sovereign to their country alone. This is from the IMF. So we're going to leave commodities behind for the most part. We're going to talk about real estate very briefly. We're not going to get into a whole lot of this, but it's important to understand real estate as an asset, its evolution, particularly in the US in terms of affordability, and the supply, the new construction of housing as populations increased over the 20th century and into the 21st. And obviously, with more population and more generations coming into the country and being born and growing up, there comes a demand for housing or shelter, which is one of those fundamental needs everybody has, right? So, for the past 40 years, housing supply has not kept pace with population growth. A simple way to observe this fact is by looking at housing starts, i.e., new residential construction, as a share of the US population. The dearth of housing supply in the US is caused by a range of factors and varies between markets. Many urban and suburban markets suffer from a shortage of available land. Part of the shortage of land available reflects public policy decisions of municipalities about how to use land, and not only that, but numerous red tape zoning restrictions that could apply. This source is actually from the White House in 2021. So if we look on the right, we can see Federal Reserve economic data. And at the top, we can see the coupling, or rather a sharp polarity between housing supply and the price between every individual household from 1999 to 2021, so roughly 22 years. These cycles seem to happen over and over again, but people don't really know why they happen, really. They just get used to the boom and bust cycles of economies. And that is clearly seen here. In figure 2, we can see the aforementioned outperformance of demand versus the scarce supply and lack of construction of new starter homes in the US from all the way 1969 all the way to 2020. So real estate right now is definitely a case of finite supply versus infinite demand. The main driver of the US housing shortfall has been the long-term decline in the construction of single-family homes, and that decline has been exacerbated by an even larger decrease in the supply of entry-level single-family homes or starter homes. In 2020, we estimate that there were only 65,000 new entry-level homes completed, less than 1/5 of the entry-level homes constructed per year in comparison to the late 70s or early 1980s. The combination of low supply, especially starter homes, and high demand, also for starter homes, is causing entry-level prices to rapidly escalate well above overall prices, triggering affordability issues for buyers to come up with even larger down payments on their mortgages. The source of this is actually the U.S. Federal Home Loan Mortgage Corporation. It is not a matter of opinion. Here is that same corporation showing you economic and housing research data. Entry-level home construction collapsed after the Great Recession and never really recovered, which is referring to the 2008 financial crisis. Percentage of new homes below 1,400 square feet, which is a decent size for a starter home, more than decent, right? About average. It's at a 50-year low, starter homes. Liquid investments are those that can be easily sold or exchanged for cash. Illiquid investments are the opposite and cannot be easily sold or exchanged for cash. Real estate is an illiquid investment. It can't be sold the second the market takes a downturn. However, liquid investments and digital assets, for example, can be sold for cash within seconds, which also increases the volatility of those digital assets. So with all this being said, what gives Bitcoin its value, right? Why Bitcoin? Why not a different cryptocurrency? Well, first of all, Bitcoin is the genesis of cryptocurrencies. So as a first mover, it has all the advantages of that, and it's also been around the longest. And we all know that money, in order to be considered a good medium of exchange and value, it has to be widely accepted, and there has to be a social consensus that this thing, for X amount of variables or reasons, is valuable and should be considered money. So Bitcoin is easy to move and difficult to take. Bitcoin scarcity alone is a major draw for many investors and for Bitcoin's core proponents, but it has other benefits that can add to its intrinsic value. Excuse me. For other proponents of Bitcoin, what gives it value is the ability to transfer large amounts of value at a relatively low cost as compared to traditional alternatives. While it can be relatively expensive to send a small amount of Bitcoin, it's also possible to send millions of dollars' worth of Bitcoin to any other Bitcoin compatible crypto addresses for a relatively minimal fee. This ability for Bitcoin to serve as a borderless digital currency is common among crypto projects, and it's not unique to Bitcoin. However, since Bitcoin is the largest and most battle-tested cryptocurrency in the world, it has achieved a formidable status as the most widely trusted and relied upon cryptocurrency in existence. And there are layer two scaling solutions, such as the Lightning Network, which enables the creation of new digital products and services on the Bitcoin network. Bitcoin is also nearly impossible to confiscate. As long as users implement a non-custodial crypto wallet, make sure it is non-custodial wallet to store their Bitcoin and protect the private keys to their crypto addresses, it's nearly impossible to confiscate. Most Bitcoin thefts that you might have heard in the news or in the past usually occur when a user compromises their account by accidentally sharing their password through a phishing attack or other form of cybercrime, or using a disreputable or poorly secured crypto exchange with an exploitable single point of failure. The self-sovereignty Bitcoin provides may not be a key value proposition in developed countries that have sophisticated banking systems and financial checks and balances in place, but hundreds of millions of people around the world do not have access to modern financial services. And even those who do have access to those modern financial services may not want to rely on financial institutions. Most Bitcoin users trust the project's underlying technology, which is open source, very important, and audible by anyone in the world. Time and again, since its inception in 2009, this technology has proven to be highly secure and resilient. This is what gives value to Bitcoin. And this is from Gemini, which is a crypto exchange, and Cryptopedia. Well, we're at the end already. And I'm out of water, so we better wrap it up. So what comes next, right? Why create more cryptocurrencies? There's tens of thousands. You can issue a token on Ethereum very easily and widely distribute it in any way you'd like. But most cryptocurrencies do not have all the properties that we just mentioned about Bitcoin. They usually do have centralizing entities. They usually have points of failure. They usually have insider token trading and allocations to team members, which is more like getting a tech company startup together and then trying to release your IPO. You know, you'll become a millionaire overnight if you get enough people to invest in it. That's not the original first principles or promise of Bitcoin. That's why most people, when they're wanting to be pure with cryptocurrencies, they stick with Bitcoin and nothing else. So, is that the end? Should everybody just buy Bitcoin and consider it the digital gold that has proven to be over 12 or 13 years despite its volatility? Right? Bitcoin has outperformed any other asset class since 2009, in spite of all the speculation and criticisms and skepticism around it. So, no, I'm happy to say that the technology doesn't stop with Bitcoin. We have Ergo. Ergo is the next generation proof of work smart contract platform that enables new models of financial interaction underpinned by safe and rich scripting language and flexible, powerful zero knowledge proofs. Ergo is research led but real world focus. Ergo draws on 10 years of, can't really see that part here, blockchain development. Complementing tried and tested principles with the best peer-reviewed academic research into cryptography, consensus models, and digital currencies. Ergo starts with solid blockchain basics, implements new and powerful cryptography natively. Ergo is powerful and safe. It provides superior support for real-world financial agreements. Ergo can support versatile, decentralized applications that run predictably with known costs and do not have any of the dangers of unrestricted functionality. Ergo smart contracts allows the world to execute wide-ranging tasks and can be considered Turing complete because we always know in advance how much the code will cost and whether it will run successfully. The Sigma protocols, which is a foundational block of Ergo smart contracts, and it can be very technical and uh, complicated to explain, maybe. It is intelligent, straightforward. They allow for a class of efficient zero knowledge protocols that enable us to implement sophisticated tasks that would otherwise be impossible, risky, or expensive. There's self-sovereign application level privacy for those that wish to build on top of those base foundational building blocks, trustless scripts that can access mixers or other functionalities without any third parties required. It's important to know privacy features on Ergo are optional. They are not mandatory like you would find with other so-called privacy coins. It is simply a tool in the toolbox, and it is not the only thing that it should be known for. Ergo finally is secure and accessible. Ordinary users who do not run a full node should enjoy the same security benefits as miners. NepoPals, or non-interactive proofs of proof of work, allow us to make and verify transactions with complete confidence without needing the storage, bandwidth, and time required to download the full blockchain's ledger. As little as 1 megabyte of data is necessary, meaning you can use any device. The source for all this information, I highly recommend and urge you to check out, is located on ergoplatform.com. You can find it under the documents page. So again, going back to Bitcoin, why create something new? Why try to emulate all the core first principles of Bitcoin, but try to improve on them? What is the point? So Bitcoin has problems. It is aging technology. It has limited smart contract functionality. It has unclear network security as the block reward subsidy approaches zero and transaction fees remain low and volatile. There's a lack of economy around state lending to miners receiving no compensation for holding the UTXO set and high cost memory. This is a big obstacle to scaling. It's a very technical, nuanced intricacies that the core team on Ergo has sought to resolve when it comes to bottlenecks in Bitcoin's technology. Inefficient Merkle tree data structure leading to inefficient light clients. Ethereum also has that same problem. It has weak and cumbersome optional privacy tools, some of which have been compromised, and massive scaling challenges, which led to in the mid-2010s block size wars, where you had Bitcoin Cash come out and Bitcoin Satoshi Vision, and a lot of internal fighting when it came to Bitcoin's immutability with block sizes. So with Ergo, the remedy for all of these Bitcoin problems is a rich language called ErgoScript, which is based on Scala, combined with the extended UTXO model, Sigma protocols, and transaction chaining, allow for Turing completeness. We are able to have more revenue from transaction fees due to decentralized finance and higher usage and scalability, unused storage rent, mining by subpools of tokens issued on Ergo, providing even more security incentives. That would be a topic for another day for proof of work mining. Storage rent, unused storage rent provides additional rewards for miners while increasing network security. It also compensates miners for long-term holding of the UTXO set. thus allowing larger state growth and indirectly larger block sizes. AVL trees, leading to drastically more efficient light client verification, and thereby allowing the use of commodity hardware to verify transactions. This is also used in Plasma. Sigma protocols enable true peer-to-peer privacy. Ergo Mixer, which is optional, again, is the only token mixer that can provide better anonymity than Monero, given enough utilization. And also, finally, decentralized on-chain governance based on extensive research. Block size can be increased securely, so you won't have all of that internal civil war fighting that you had with Bitcoin back in the day. And NepoPals enable light clients with full node security guarantees. So you can have light clients for Ergo in a low bandwidth setting, like in areas where you have limited cell phone signal and reception, and that helps to keep the network secure. And Ergo finally offers more layer 2 options than Bitcoin. With Ethereum, right? So to get through the Ethereum side, right? Because people will say, well, Ethereum has all the programmability we need in order to continue where Bitcoin left off. We don't need Ergo. Well, you do need Ergo because creating transactions and utilizing smart contracts on Ethereum requires paying fees in Ethereum and maintain an ETH balance. Maintaining an ETH balance, thereby leading to a poor user experience. So anything you want to do on Ethereum, you must pay gas fees, and you must pay transaction fees in the native ETH coin. We have something that we've implemented that's novel in the cryptocurrency industry called Babel fees, which allow you to pay with other native tokens issued on the same blockchain, but not directly the same coin that is the native asset, the base one. So instead of paying with Erg, you could pay with another coin issued on top of Ergo, because Erg would be considered the base layer protocol's native currency. We don't have gas fees right off the bat, and we don't have any problems predicting cost or on-chain verification computation. We don't have network congestion or high gas fees, as I mentioned before. Ergo is engineered from the ground up with long-term scaling in mind, using the most advanced and well-researched tools in the entire cryptocurrency industry. Anyone can run a node on Ergo, similar to Bitcoin, and while the miners may increase block size limit, there are mitigants built in to prevent this from leading to a bad node running experience. Censorship. Most blocks are Office of Foreign Assets controlled blocks on Ethereum. Decentralization on Ergo and proof of work is deeply ingrained in our ethos, and Ergo will resist censorship in any form. We don't have centralization of monetary policy with the Ethereum Foundation and all the influential people on top of that bureaucracy to change emission at whim or changing the consensus mechanisms in order to secure the blockchain. For example, when they switch from proof of work to proof of stake. Miners will never be disregarded in Ergo. Any soft fork or hard fork needs to be approved by a supermajority of 90% of all miners. So miners are the governing body for decision making in that sense. They get to ratify or veto any proposals, and only them. Anybody can propose a proposal, but in order to get it approved, it has to be miners and solely miners. 90% or more. Under no circumstances can our finite supply cap be increased, ever. It's 97.7 million ergs. Ethereum has poor security and frequent hacks costing billions from their account-based model as well. We have the UTXO model and efficient on-chain verification with most computation done off-chain. Ethereum has poor privacy tools because of the account ledger model is not as suitable for attaining high privacy. And on Ergo, the combination of the extended UTXO model and Sigma protocols can achieve optional privacy superior to that achieved by Monero. This again is available on the documents page on ergoplatform.com. Okay, wow, that was really a mouthful. I did not really prepare this final slide. Um, I did put thanks for watching, but I guess I'll the rest are from the template I grabbed from Google Docs or Google Slides online. So thanks for watching again. I hope you found something in this useful. I know I had a great time exploring these topics and finding the sources for these arguments. I hope the sources I provided as well have seemed very concrete and from institutions that you'd be surprised um, by including them in here, right? Um, so there will be multiple interviews to come later in the year and more presentations. Uh, if you enjoyed this content, please consider subscribing, retweeting this on social media, preferably Twitter, where you can find me at Sigma Prism, SIGMAPRISM, which is the name of the YouTube channel, right? And that's pretty much it. If you want to get in touch with me, please at me on Twitter. And thank you for watching. Looking forward to seeing more participation and viewership in the following weeks and months to come and the years to come. Thank you very much. And be sure to check out ergoplatform.org or ergoplatform.com to find out more information on how they're pushing forward the true innovative digital commodity and decentralized smart contract future for the cryptocurrency industry. Thank you very much. Bye.